Hi, everybody. My name is Christy Howell, and we're going to spend some time today in this virtual space thinking and talking about a problem that affects us all, climate change. Catherine Hayhoe, a faculty member at Texas Tech, has this great quote about the central challenge of climate change, that nobody really knows how to talk about it without devolving into anger and frustration and a lot of sadness. We're going to try to address some of that today without the devolution. And the vehicle that we're going to use to do so is Project Drawdown. I've linked to Project Drawdown to the website on many of these slides. If you are viewing this lecture for a class, your faculty member also has a copy of this presentation where I've linked to resources and have transcribed my remarks for those of you who would find that helpful. I'll also add a lot of links to the comments below. As always, you're welcome to share this as widely as you'd like. And I'd encourage you to reach out if you're looking for a resource that you can't find, or even better, if you find something you're really excited about and you just can't help sharing it. My contact information is at the end here. So our time together today is going to work out like this. We're going to do a quick introduction to Drawdown and how we ended up with this really useful document. And we'll do a broad overview of the top 20 solutions before digging in a little bit more narrowly to a few of the solutions that we're deploying fairly well across campus. You'll have some time to consider what solutions might make the most sense for you to deploy at home or to improve on in your community, and then we'll wrap up. Throughout, as I mentioned, I'm going to talk about a lot of different resources outside of Drawdown. I'm going to try to go back through and make sure that links to all of those end up in the comments below. If you have questions, just let me know, and I'll search for stuff that I've left out if I leave anything out. So what is the Drawdown Project? So Drawdown is the point at which greenhouse gases start to decline. That idea forms the entire point of this research organization, which was started in 2014, in the book, which was published in 2017, and then the larger website that follows. I've linked to that throughout again. So the Drawdown Project reviews, analyzes, and identifies 100 different climate solutions and describes their projected efficacy in clear, non-specialist language. Each solution on the website also includes additional data and formulae for the ways that those solutions were achieved as well. So the goal to this project, in addition to offering practical steps toward addressing climate change, is to step away from the hopelessness that so many feel as they consider our future. This doom and gloom is something I see a lot of with our students and with our area high school students that I work with. And these practical solutions really do help with the feeling of, well, what can I do? So in my day-to-day work, I have the chance to both teach and learn from students as we talk about sustainability on campus, at their schools and at home. All of the quotes here are things that I've actually heard students say in these conversations, whether they're in classes with JCCC students on our campus or at other opportunities that we offer for area middle school and high school students. Students are worried, they're angry, and they're frustrated about a whole host of topics related to sustainable practices. In a lot of cases, they don't know what to do next or who to turn to. These are comments that I've heard from our students and from surrounding school districts, but they're also comments that we're hearing a lot on the international stage. And those comments, when we hear them on the international stage, are kind of dismissed as it doesn't happen here. But that's definitely not the case. You just have to know what questions to ask and what conversations to start. So what do Drawdown Solutions do? Drawdown Solutions do some combination of these three things. One, they propose a shift from fossil fuel and inefficient energy bases. They encourage a reduction in resource use through behavior change, and they encourage biosequestration of carbon in plants and soils. Each of the solutions that they offer are viable, scalable, and financially feasible. In the book and on the website, the solutions are ranked, and they have, in addition to a brief narrative, a projected reduction in CO2 and sequestration of CO2 and cost projections. So let's take a look at one solution as an example. So when we look at the electric cars solution, what you see here, as I mentioned, reduction in gigatons, net first cost to implement the solution, and then operational savings here. I might choose to talk about electric cars because that's usually one of the solutions that a lot of our students mention as the thing that they want to do. But in actuality, electric cars as a solution aren't one of the top solutions that are recommended. I always like to offer a little opportunity to see what folks think those solutions are. So we're gonna play a little game. I'm gonna offer you 20 solutions here. These have been randomized. If you're working with someone else, then feel free to bring in a little bit of friendly competition. But if you're working alone, grab yourself a piece of scratch paper, take 3 minutes and choose what you think are the top 5 solutions by carbon reduction. So you're going to take a look at a randomized list. You're going to have 3 minutes to contemplate that list. And you're going to select the top 5 solutions out of these randomized 20. I'll give you 3 minutes to do so. I'll pause myself and then we'll come back. Okay, so let's take a look at the correct order. Here they are. Take a look and see if anything here strikes you as particularly surprising. I know the first time I looked at Drawdown, I was really pleased and surprised to see the refrigerant management ranked so highly. When we do these with groups of students, a lot of people bring up the solutions that are energy focused. These are usually the ones that people point to first. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the top 20 are energy related. And that's not to say that they aren't vitally important. It's just to say that there are a lot of different ways to tackle this problem and to have this conversation effectively. 8 of the top 20 are related to food. That's something that's a lot more interesting to me. Almost half of them relate to the ways that we eat or where our food comes from. 2 of those 8, 2 of the top 5 even, relate specifically to personal decisions that we can make individually and encourage in our homes and communities. And if we consider land use, cultivation practices, and food choices, over half of the top 20 solutions are now within reach. Again, this isn't to challenge the importance of energy. It's to remind ourselves really that the solutions to the climate problem that we've created for ourselves is more solvable than we've allowed ourselves to believe. Now that you've gotten something of an overview of solutions, we're going to take a look at 3 of them a little more closely, and we're going to talk through the ways that we're using those 3 at JCCC. So solution 1, food waste. Its rank is number 3. Obviously, it's in the food sector. But one of the solutions that I have a lot of conversations about is food waste, and it's not just on campus. It's something that people are really concerned about in their own homes, in their communities, in their children's schools. It's hard to believe, but fully a third of the food that we grow globally never makes it to a consumer. In places with less infrastructure, waste is unintentional. It happens earlier in the food chain due to limited transportation and preservation. In places with better infrastructure and higher income, food waste happens thanks to a more willful process. So retailer and customer decisions really play a role in food waste there. And this is really an issue of consumer decision as well, as consumers prefer pretty produce, or they might take too much at a buffet. In this particular solution, we have a lot of different additional learning tools that you can keep in mind. Several of our faculty have had students keep an individual food waste diary for a week, and then do some at-home data analysis. We have, throughout the academic year, food waste and composting sort of topics of conversation that you can participate in as a student. We also have opportunities for remote participation that we talk about a lot on our social media channels. And then one of my favorite videos to use as we talk about food waste throughout the supply chain is the Man in the Maze documentary. It's on Vimeo. I'll link to it. And then another video that we have on our campus ledger blog that talks about composting on campus. Both of those are really enjoyable opportunities to learn more about food waste as an issue that's very solvable for us. Solution 2 that we're going to talk about today is rooftop solar. Rooftop solar comes in at number 10 in the solution rank. It's another one that's really, really popular, not just for faculty and for our students, but as we look around our communities, we see increased deployment of rooftop solar as well. Solar PV, again, is scalable. It allows for a reduction in fossil fuel use, obviously. With the addition of smart grids, diversification, and net metering, people taking advantage of rooftop PV can help with peak demand times. And because solar is so scalable, it's also a democratizing force. It can improve the quality of life for many. Our campus commitment to solar is broad, and thanks in large part both to student advocacy and administrative support, we have lots of ways that we can talk about solar use on JCCC's campus. Our solar production data is really easy to find. Again, I'll link at the bottom of the page, but you can go to jccc.edu/sustainability, select analytics, and select solar to see both real-time production data, and then click on energy to see broader production trends. If you're a student and you'd like to learn more in class, I'd recommend that you look for our technical courses focused on solar installation, obviously. You see a student in those classes here working at our new career and technical education building. You can also learn more about solar in other classes as well, both the usual suspects like environmental science, and then in several sections of college algebra. Carolyn Goodman employs our solar data in her classes as well. And then there's also our econ classes that focus on solar production. Last for us today in terms of solutions that we're going to look at, but certainly not least, is conservation agriculture. As a solution, it's ranked 16th, but it's one of the several solutions here that are focused on the ways that we mentioned earlier and the ways that we produce food and manage land. Conservation practices in agriculture have been around for a long time. No-till row crop cultivation is by itself a kind of conservation agriculture, but it doesn't take into account the enrichment of soils that more advanced conservation ag practices do. So there's room for improvement. Regenerative agriculture, as one of the solutions that's talked about in Drawdown, pays attention to meticulous data on soils health and its capacity for addressing climate health and human health as well is also woven through the ways that we talk about conservation ag. All of these solutions that are sort of related to land protection and land use practices and food production, all of these are interconnected. It's a really interesting system to sort of dig into. In the additional learning tools for this slide, I've included a set of videos that we created in cooperation with the Land Institute for more information about perennial grains. And so this short selection of videos is really easy to sort of break down and understand of a fairly complex component of conservation agriculture, but to do so in our own context right here in Kansas. We've looked at 3 solutions in context here at JCCC, but I want to wrap things up today by thinking about the ways you can use the information in Drawdown for your own good work. One of the things that we focus on here at the center is in helping people improve inefficient systems. So it's always useful to work with others, even if that work is more focused on team building and positive reinforcement than face-to-face interaction. These are just a few of the solutions that are mentioned in greater detail in Drawdown that folks are already doing at home. But if you're having trouble finding allies in the climate solution that really excites you, reach out to us. Our contact information is at the bottom here, but I want to do a little review. So Drawdown is a book and a website that offers practical data-driven solutions to the climate crisis. The website is free to all users. It's full of additional resources, footnotes, and a lot of really accessible narrative and data. Some of the solutions in Drawdown are things that we've been doing for years at JCCC. You can both visit those solutions in person on campus, or you can take advantage of learning about those solutions via our website and social media channels. We enjoy hearing from you. Your suggestions and questions on those social media channels or via email really help us build more resources for others, so don't be shy. Feel free to drop us a line or follow us and share both your questions and your successes there. Resources that I mentioned are here and again in the comments below. Have a good day.